We're back on Route 66 in Oklahoma, and obviously I'm at the state capitol building in Oklahoma City, and we're going to head west from here, and we're going to go out about halfway between here and the state line with Texas. And not going to be that far in terms of miles traveled, but there are a lot of communities and a lot of things to see in this little stretch. I always thought when I first did Route 66 years ago that the western half of Oklahoma felt like it really started to open up. So it should be interesting. Let's get on the road and check it out. Let's look at a map to see exactly where we're at. So you can see Oklahoma City. Up here on the north, that orange line, that's Route 66. If you remember the last video I made on Route 66, we came east. Remember Wellston, Luther, Arcadia. We finished in Edmond. And then it comes down to connect with Oklahoma City right here. And this is Route 62. And I'd done previously a couple of videos about US 62. So we're starting the Capitol. The Capitol is right there in the middle of the screen. And we'll go up to 44 to connect with Route 66. And we'll start heading west. We're going to stop in Bethany. That'll be our first town. You see Lake Overholser. And so that is where original Route 66 used to go, right next to Lake Overholser. So we'll see a cool bridge there, maybe stop in a market, then head over to Yukon. And this is our first community of the day. This is Bethany, founded in 1909 as a community where members of the Church of the Nazarene could practice their religious beliefs without interference by non-members. The town was named after the biblical place of Bethany. The community quickly founded the Oklahoma Holiness College, which is now known as Southern Nazarene University. Incorporated in 1910, got a post office in 1913. With a relatively large population of conservative Nazarenes, the town council soon enacted strict blue laws that banned alcohol, tobacco, gambling, dancing, movies, swearing, and working on Sundays. In 1930, a tornado killed 23 people and destroyed hundreds of buildings. Recovery from the storm was slow until the outbreak of World War II. Defense industries rapidly developed in the area, and the city added population as a bedroom community to Oklahoma City. You can see in the population figures it was fairly small, 1950 with that big jump, and then a big jump in 1960 and 1970, and that was actually the largest population in 1970. Dropped a little bit, but still over 20,000 people.
Y'all bought drinks and donuts. But I don't. No, you're not Russians. They're so good. Oh, thank you.
Next up, this is Yukon, founded in 1891. A.L. Spencer was a cattleman from Texas turned railroad builder and was working on a line from El Reno to Arkansas when he decided to build the town. He laid the train tracks through the town in exchange for half of the lots, which had been acquired in the land run of 1889. Spencer named the town after the Yukon Territory of Canada, where a gold rush was booming at the time. Beginning in 1898, Yukon began to attract immigrants from Bohemia following World War I and the dissolution of Bohemia into Czechoslovakia and Moravia. The immigrants became known as Czechs. Yukon is known as the Czech capital of Oklahoma. Paved roads didn't arrive until the construction of Route 66 here in 1926. The Yukon Mill and Grain Company opened in 1893 and grew to shipping flour and feed throughout the South and exporting them overseas by 1915. Paying homage to that history, the students of Yukon High School are known as the Millers. Country music star Garth Brooks grew up here in Yukon, as well as Joe Albertson, founder of the grocery store chain Albertsons. And you can see that population was just over 1,000, almost 2,000 for quite a while, and then really ballooned up from 1960 to 1990, and at 23,000, it's the largest it's ever been. So we leave Yukon. There's a little dot on the map, Banner, just north of Route 66, so we'll stop in, check that out. You can see we're going to take a little detour to a special location south of Route 66 before heading up to El Reno. Turned off Route 66 maybe about a half a mile that way, so just a little bit to the north. Came over to where it says Banner on my map, and there's a little community over this way, and then you can see here the railroad where obviously it used to probably be much busier. So Banner, there's not a ton of information, but more than likely what happened here, you know, they had a post office from 1911 to 1954, and statehood happened in 1907, so a few years after that. And when they did the land run to settle these areas, this was probably one of the ones that started a little community. And then obviously it was on the railroad, and that gave it some life. And when you see the post office was closed in 1954, that's just more information to know, you know, that's kind of when passenger service in a lot of places kind of stopped. And we're between Yukon and El Reno, so El Reno goes that way on down the railroad. And so you don't need as many stops along the railroad as you used to. And so a place like Banner, which was just a little bit smaller, didn't survive in terms of being an actual real town. So that's probably the story of Banner. Still some things left. There is a little community here, maybe a business or two. As you drive through, you can kind of see a few things, but there you go. This one's probably missed by a lot of people on Route 66, but there's a pretty cool looking co-op elevator. Way over there is El Reno. It's going to be our next town we go to. But before we get there, we're going to stop here. This is a little tornado memorial. So El Reno has been hit by a couple of pretty rough tornadoes. So 2011, they had one that killed 9 people. And then in 2013, they had one, it only killed 8 people. I mean, I say only, it was less than the one in 2011. But the one in 2013 is the widest tornado ever recorded. It's 2.6 miles wide, and they said speeds were up to 300 miles an hour, which is just incredible. So, yeah, they had this memorial here, and they have a little information about something they started called TwistX, Tactical Weather Instrument Sampling in Near Tornadoes Experiment, and talks about that there. And if you ever saw the movie Twister, so they had a sequel called Twisters, plural, and it was based on El Reno and based on the town. If you've seen that movie, you've seen probably El Reno in the movie. So we're gonna go there next, but thought we'd stop here first and pay our respects to the craziness that happened a couple different times in the last 15 years.
Come on, take left! Let's go, let's go!
And here is downtown El Reno. So in 1874, the United States established a fort to supervise the area, and General Philip Sheridan took command. He named it Fort Reno to honor his friend General Jesse Reno, who was killed in the Civil War. After the 1889 land run, there were three entities the local postmaster had to keep separate. There was this town of El Reno, there was Reno City, and then there was Fort Reno. The village of El Reno originated shortly after the land run, with the post office starting in June of 1889. Although El Reno means the reindeer in Spanish, the town is actually named after the nearby Fort Reno. Reindeer are not native to Oklahoma. Reno City was located on the north side of the Canadian River, about 5 miles northeast of this town of El Reno. The community of El Reno was located to the south side of the Canadian River. After the railroad company announced their rail lines were going to run south of the Canadian River, Reno City relocated down here to El Reno, and the original Reno City site north of the river was abandoned. During World War II, Fort Reno was the site of a prisoner of war camp for Germans and Italians. Following World War II, the U.S. Army determined it did not need the fort anymore. There's been several Hollywood movies filmed in and around town, including Rain Man with Dustin Hoffman and Tom Cruise, Stillwater with Matt Damon, and the aforementioned Twisters that was filmed in 2024. Population-wise, we are at the largest it's ever been, at 16,989. It's kind of leveled off, you could say, in the past few decades, and looks like a really nice downtown here. Lots of really interesting old buildings on multiple different, I guess you'd call them main streets throughout town. So if you come to El Reno, you'll have a lot of really cool places to check out. Here is that Fort Reno that's closed now. It was open from 1874 to 1949. It was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1970. You can visit these days, but unfortunately it is closed on the weekends. You can see where Fort Reno is in relation to El Reno. So we're heading west. So normally you would just head straight west on 40, but original Route 66 goes north right there up to Calumet. There's a dot, Karns, and then Geary. So the original route went that way. You'll see why in a little bit. But let's head up and check out these towns first. As we head north on Route 66 on the original route, this is Calumet. So it was incorporated in 1942, so kind of late compared to these other towns, but it was in order to construct a town water system. You can see the water tower there. Prior to its incorporation, the town existed as an unincorporated community with a post office. So back before that, after the Organic Act of 1890 recreated the area as Oklahoma Territory, present-day Canadian County was designated as County 4 and settled by non-Indian settlers through the land run of 1889, the land run of 1892, and a 1901 land lottery. Land run of 1892 opened up the surplus Cheyenne Arapaho lands to non-Indian settlement, which opened up this area of Calumet. So population-wise, you can see how it had 339 at the first time it was incorporated there in 1950. It's grown just a little bit. It peaked in 1990, but has come back down a little bit. I'm sure being off the interstate has made the population not grow as much as those other towns that we've been through already, but it also is a lot quieter up here, which I think a lot of people like as well. So this is another fairly obscure Route 66 stop, kind of like Banner earlier today, where they didn't have much left. It wasn't really on Route 66 right on it. So that's Route 66 right there. And this is Karns Road. And on the map, there's a dot that says Karns. There's a railroad crossing up there, and went down there to check it out. So apparently there was a station called Karns Station here, and people could get on and off the railroad, obviously long time ago, many decades, actually probably over a century. And then there was also a general store here in the 19-teens. There wasn't a post office, so it was about 6 miles to the nearest post office, which goes to our next town down that way to Geary. So pretty far if there was a community to get to the post office back in the day. But this is Karns. Never was really a town, but still a dot on my map. This is Geary, and you can see that spelling there. We're going to talk about the origin of the name, which is kind of interesting. But like Calumet, the area occupied by the present city of Geary was previously part of the Cheyenne-Arapaho Reservation until it was opened in the 1892 land run. A man with a funny name of Shuffle Huff filed several land claims in the area, sold 2 quarter sections to a land development company. Community was begun about a mile and a half northwest of here. Settlers moved to the town of the present site because of the proposed route of the Choctaw, Oklahoma, and Gulf Railroad line that was being built west from El Reno. So Edmund Guerriere, of French Cheyenne ancestry and a former Army scout and interpreter, had acquired land allotment about 3 miles northeast of town originally. The town was named after him, but spelled Geary because the settlers had a difficult time spelling and pronouncing his name. Post office was established in 1892. So population-wise, you can see it peaked in 1930, and that's about when that route had been changed from going this direction to bypassing it to the south. And you can see since then, it has slowly gotten smaller. It did go up in 1980 and then back down, and 994 in 2020 is the smallest it's ever been. This is a pretty interesting part of the route. So as we head south out of Geary to kind of reconnect with today's version of Route 66, you can see we go just a little bit south. We're going to get on Old Highway 66, that part that turns right and heads directly west. And then as soon as we get past that, we're going to go across a really interesting bridge, you could say. We're going to finish that bridge up near Hinton Junction and then over to Bridgeport, of which the bridge is named. Here is an iconic Route 66 stop. This is the Bridgeport Bridge, also known as the William H. Murray Bridge. You can see it's the most pretentious engineering project ever undertaken by the Oklahoma Highway Commission. It talks about the history of the bridge and how it changed the transportation and how Route 66 went to the north there. You can see that map, and then that went to the south because of this bridge. So we're going to drive across the entire length of this bridge, which is 3,944 feet, about 3/4 of a mile. It has a 38-span camelback pony truss bridge that reopened in May of 2024 following a $35 million rehabilitation. When I came on Route 66 the first time years ago, it was a different bridge, and so kind of cool to drive on both versions of it. The project preserved the iconic 1933 yellow trusses while widening the deck to accommodate modern traffic. It's the longest pony truss bridge in the entire United States. Wow, what an incredible bridge. That's a crazy bridge to drive over. And you know, they had to reroute Route 66. Originally, it went up like we went today to those towns. And then, you know, you see the map here where it goes more directly across. They put in that bridge. And it would come right here. And this is called Hinton Junction. And this is I guess you call it a ghost town. Obviously, you know, there's not much of a town. I think it was more of a area to stop. And but yeah, this is the remnants of Hinton Junction. And now to the small community of Bridgeport, which was named for an original toll bridge in the area. It was incorporated in 1902. There's a nice little RV park here as you roll into town. It was on the main east-west line of the Chicago, Rock Island, and Pacific Railroad. When the community refused to pay to ensure that the railroad would not construct any switches nearby, 2 switches were built in the vicinity, causing Bridgeport to shift some of the population to the west side of their township and losing residents to the new communities. Population-wise, you can see how it was larger in the early 1900s and has dropped off steadily down to 97. It's the first time in double digits. Our final part of the day, you can see we're leaving Bridgeport, and you can kind of see how where I-40 is, and then right above it there's a white line that says 1020 Road. So that's the original Route 66, and you'll notice the road there, how it's that old Route 66 look. And we'll take that on over to Hydro, and then basically it looks like a frontage road right along the way, all the way into our final stop of the day is going to be Weatherford. And this is Hydro. Love a town with a interesting name like that. So it was founded in 1901 when the Wichita and Caddo reservations opened for settlement. It was built near the Choctaw, Oklahoma, and Gulf Railroad. It was actually originally called Caddo, but when the post office was established in September of 1901, the name was changed to Hydro to honor the town's plentiful well water. So during the Great Depression, the Works Progress Administration paved Hydro streets and built the present schoolhouse and community center. And the population increased kind of until 1930, and it peaked there at 948. And then the Great Depression and the Dust Bowl took their toll. But then in 1980, there was another oil boom. And so that brought residents back and went over 1,000 in the year 2000 and has dropped off a little bit down to 927 today. Hydro's right down there. There's the busy interstate, and there's a nice shield there for Hydro Route 66, and we're at Lucille's. This is a famous Route 66 stop, and Lucille was known for her great hospitality. Lucille Hammond, and she ran this place for 59 years. Apparently she had really good food. People like to come back, so this has been restored. Obviously, it's on the National Register of Historic Places. And once again, it's one of the kind of famous places along Route 66. It was actually called the Provine Station originally. Very cool. They have the whole history about Lucille. And there's a little court that people would stay in. Apparently there's a sign for the court that was here that's now in the Smithsonian. So very, very interesting stop here on Route 66, just west of Hydro. Weatherford was settled in 1892 and incorporated in 1898. By 1900, the town had a population of 1,000 already. The original post office was located 2 miles north of town on William John and Lorinda Powell Weatherford's homestead. Lorinda Weatherford served as its postmaster and namesake. It's the hometown of astronaut Thomas P. Stafford, veteran of 4 space flights and commander of the Gemini 9 and Apollo 10 missions. There's a very significant air and space museum located here at the Thomas P. Stafford Airport. Population has gone up and up throughout the years. Fairly small in the early decades, but now over 10,000. Went over 10,000 for the first time in 1990 and is now at over 12,000 in 2020. as you might have saw driving in, and maybe with some drone footage, how the clouds are getting angry. And if you live in this part of Oklahoma, or if you've been through here, you know, the weather can change at any moment's notice. So there's some severe weather coming. So I'm gonna end the video right here, but we're in Weatherford. What a great place to end. They got music playing on the speakers through the downtown, and I'm right here by Major Tom. So they call it Space City here. So what a great place to end the video, at Major Tom. Pretty cool little trip today. You know, a lot more population than most of the time, you know, most of the Route 66 stuff I've been doing, but a lot of these towns or small cities have a lot of interesting history. So I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. Hey, thanks for making it all the way to the end of that video. And since you're here, let me tell you a little bit more about the extras on the channel. One of the first things you can do is become a member. There are 3 levels of support. There's supporter, producer, and executive producer levels. All 3 have different levels of fun incentives and perks. If you haven't done so, please check out travelwiththewiseguy.com. There are lots of extras on there to explore. One of them is merchandise. We have Travel with the Wise Guy coffee mugs, Death Go Round t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and all sorts of fun things to show your support of this channel. Also on the website is a custom Google map. I've dropped pins in every place I've visited and linked the episode to each location. This seems to be a very popular feature for many of you. Also, sign up for my free newsletter that goes out about once a month. There are all sorts of links and tidbits on this page, old videos, podcasts, and just about everything I can think of I throw on the website. Get all that information on travelwiththewiseguy.com. Pretty interesting clouds, and then blue skies over there. Welcome to Oklahoma.